that this spring has been blasted by severe weather. Remember that Kankakee tornado not too long ago?
A couple months ago.
That was back in late March, early April. We're continuing to see damaging wind reports. So it's not just the tornado threat, but winds that could almost do as much damage as a weak tornado in South Bend, right along the Michigan border. Numerous trees down in the South Bend area. And same type of deal. Again, notice these dots are beginning to populate further east as that segment moves further east. Bourbon, multiple structures impacted, Sturgis, trees, and power lines down. So the same type of story up and down the Midwest.
Right, if you don't get a tornado, you get a sweep of 60-mile-per-hour winds, which is just, given how wet the ground is here from all the rain we've had here recently, it would not be hard to bring down a tree in this kind of environment at all.
Yeah, and it's the heavy rainfall, it's the flashes of lightning, damaging winds, and also the threat of possibly tornadoes. We have the tornado warnings. The number of them are beginning to drop, which is a good sign, but still have a warning just to the east of South Bend, just to the east of Three Rivers, and eventually that warning may be extended off towards the east, towards Coldwater area.
Right, even though the tornado warning count is dropping, don't let your guard down, because the severe thunderstorm warnings, we're going to do 60 to 70 with some of these storms as they move across the area. Highway speed type winds moving across the region late at night. So if you're well ahead of this line, like I was talking about earlier, if you're well ahead of it and you can still get out in the backyard, you have any loose lawn furniture, you want to do it now.
Right, and also, I mean, most people are at home this time of night, so it's possible branches could fall on some homes. If you get a gust of 60, 70 mile an hour for a tree that's not in the best shape, that could certainly cause problems. And we saw the storm reports of trees down, stretching back off towards the west. If there were to be rotation, it would be near the Colon area, heading off towards the east. So again, embedded within this line, some rotation being spotted just off towards the right over Colon, just off towards the north of Sturgis. That goes until 11:30 Eastern, that warning does.
Right, coming up on Coldwater, about to cross Interstate 69 here in extreme southern Michigan, Jamestown, and there's Angola, Indiana. So this whole line pushing east, that looks a little suspicious to me, Sam.
Yeah,
there.
Where you're seeing these kinks, which Mark was pointing out towards, that's where the radar's picking up on possibly some rotation. So even though you may not be under a tornado warning, up and down this line, we're seeing a tornado possible tag. And if we track this further off towards the east, that could continue to hold together and move towards places like Coldwater and Algon C, Jamestown, possibly in play for maybe 60, 70 mile an hour gusts as this line moves through.
And so earlier, these storms were back across northern Illinois. You think about the history of this, only just maybe 2-3 hours ago. And here they are. This is really quick progress here.
And we tend to see this with these segments. They start to speed up towards the end of the night and really put their foot on the gas, and that's why it's moving so rapidly into Ohio, not just the severe thunderstorm warnings, but also more tornado warnings. This is to the east of Hartford, just to the south of Hartford. That would be in Adams and Jay County, Bear Creek, Bryant under that tornado warning. Mercer County, this is now extreme western Ohio, Black Creek, Mendon, and Rockford under a tornado warning.
Yeah, about to cross State Route 127 here, and this is extreme southern Michigan we're looking at here up to the north, Van Wert, as well as Spencerville, Decatur, Blue Creek. So watching the 127 corridor north of Coldwater.
Well, this would be Indiana,
Ohio. Indiana, Ohio. 127 runs all the way up into south central lower Michigan. So going all the way up to the north here, looking at, so this is central Indiana, western Ohio. Also tornado warnings here across parts of southern Michigan, Cass County, and just east.
And then just off towards the south and east of Indianapolis, we have more tornado warnings. So a busy night continues, although good signs that we're seeing these warnings are becoming far and fewer in between, but we'll continue to track them through the evening tonight. Meteorologist Sam Copeland here alongside meteorologist Mark Thibodeau. We look at New York City, flashes of lightning and heavy rainfall likely moving over the 5 boroughs as this much more weekend-lined moves overhead. So we take a look closely at the 5 boroughs and some flashes of lightning crossing over the Hudson River right now, but as expected, it's weakened dramatically from just a couple hours ago. We had tons of warnings back towards the Poconos, northwest Jersey, but in a weakened state moving over the city.
And a couple storms here coming across the LIE as well, towards Hempstead, looking at the potential for Some thunder and lightning here too, non-severe, but like you said, locally heavy rain, some lightning, really falling apart here as it nears.
I mean, we had a warning
down
not
the
too long ago down towards Philadelphia, but that cell, which was warned earlier, still has some lightning with it as it heads eventually towards the Jersey Shore. But the trend, as we typically see this time of night in this part of the region, is our friend as it moves into much more stable air towards the Atlantic, and that's going to continue. The main event has been off towards the west. Eventually, that gets into the northeast, but tonight over the Midwest, and now just down to one tornado warning over extreme western Ohio.
All right, positive trend there, but that does not mean let your guard down, because we still have a lot of severe thunderstorm warnings. Like we've been talking about, these severe thunderstorms could have winds 60 to 70. And then there's the tornado warning here for Mercer County, including Black Creek, Mendon, as well as Rockford till 11:45, lowest interior room here.
Right, and it's these little kinks that the radar's picking up along this line that could have some embedded rotation along them. What's a good sign is the level of the dark reds and oranges that we saw earlier on the radar are beginning to fade. So this line is beginning to interact with a little bit more stable air, but nonetheless, maybe a tornado on the possibly on the ground to the north and west of Salina. So still some rotation along this line as it moves off towards the east. And if we track this out, if it holds together, Tama, Salina, Neptune, that could all be overhead within the next 10 to 15 minutes. So still, you're under a tornado warning. Treat it like a tornado could possibly impact you.
It's just because we're seeing a drop in the number of tornado warnings doesn't mean we still can't get them. You know, as the night goes on, we still could get a tornado warning or two in this kind of environment.
Right. And we have that watch that goes into parts of northwestern Ohio, it stretches back towards the Detroit metro, and that's until 2 a.m., which is when tornadoes obviously could be the most dangerous because most people are asleep.
So out of the threat here in Chicago, Fort Wayne, you're just about out of it as well. However, Ohio, it's your turn. Coming across I-75 here within the next hour.
Yeah.
And Detroit eventually here downwind about another hour or so. Could have some big storms moving in.
And eventually what's going to happen, like we saw in New York City, is this will weaken. There'll still be heavy rain, lightning, and thunder, and some gusty winds, but the intensity of the winds are likely to relax. We'll track this hour by hour as it moves off towards the east. And you see that 1, 2 in the morning, look how the line is becoming less connected.
Very fragmented.
Fragmented and weaker as it enters more stable air as the night moves along. And then maybe some scattered storms left down towards back towards Oklahoma City, towards the Memphis area, Louisville as well.
And, you know, much like we'd see on a late spring or early summer day, even as the storms weaken and collapse, they still can release a burst of wind, even late at night. So,
yeah, so you know, don't be surprised if you're woken up to maybe a branch cracking or even just the wind shaking the window a little bit. And we talked about this. These storms are going to be overhead the northeast during the day tomorrow from Burlington, Vermont, down towards Charlotte, North Carolina, everywhere in between in play for some strong storms.
And this is going to be a pretty favorable environment, I think, for at least some damaging winds. We'll have Gulf Coast humidity levels right up well into New England, and then we're going to have a pretty good jet stream and a cold front focusing all of this. The winds aloft are really kind of dipping pretty far south in the United States for early June. They're all the way down across Kentucky into West Virginia. Normally, by now, they'd be kind of retreating almost towards Canada, but you know, they are still dipping into the United States. We have a strong disturbance aloft moving in, and storms are going to light up here from the Great Smokies all the way to the Shenandoah
It's kind of just a rinse and repeat type forecast tomorrow. New York City, Philadelphia, Boston, hot, humid, and then storms come in afternoon and evening. So we'll track those out. We'll see how it plays out. 8 in the morning, maybe an isolated shower left over, but we'll probably break out into some sunshine. Again, gets very hot. Another day of heat advisories along the I-95 corridor, and then storms pop up like clockwork into the afternoon and into the evening hours.
And this gives us an idea of how the radar is going. This is not exactly how the radar will look, but it gives us a pretty good mapping of how it could look. So even though maybe you don't see a storm over your neighborhood in central Jersey, you still could get a big storm tomorrow.
Maybe a great weekend. Head down to the Jersey Shore, at least on Saturday, as that front clears the area. Lots of sunshine, humidity drops. It's still hot, but it's a much more tolerable upper 80s compared to the upper 80s and low 90s we've been experiencing the last couple of days with sky-high humidity.
Yeah, you look at D.C., they've got that heat advisory through tomorrow evening. Heat index levels to 103 tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, they're used to that in D.C., but nonetheless, still very, very hot. And really the hottest stretch so far this year for a lot of Northeast cities.
And that's part of what fuels this. You get all that intense heat and humidity here in June. Then you add a strong disturbance, a jet stream in there too. And this is what you get.
It's like textbook.
It really is.
You're looking at textbook for what causes severe thunderstorms, everything we just talked about. Again, we're seeing the number of warnings drop, but we still do have a tornado warning in Ohio.
Yeah, just the one lone tornado warning. Again, could spin up very quickly here. It is approaching Lima. So even though Lima, you're not in a tornado warning, you have a severe thunderstorm warning with that possible tornado tag on
And
it,
from
once
Lima
again.
to Toledo, even up towards Detroit, you can probably feel something starting to brew outside. Winds are picking up, and eventually those storms in a weaker state will continue to move off towards the east. This stretches from the severe thunderstorm warnings due 196 miles, Indianapolis metro, up towards southern Michigan.
And then developing further south and west. So really, you got to go 250 miles to get away from this. You'd have to do it quick because this line is really moving in quick.
Yeah,
so
I mean, it's moving like a car on the interstate. It's
it really
moving like a car along the toll road in Indiana, 60, 70 miles an hour.
Right. And as it moves south and east, it is still moving it into an environment that's not completely worked over. You can still see we have some orange on the map. That's still some what we call kind of moderately unstable air for this time of night.
But notice how you're seeing less of the pinks and
yeah.
you're seeing more yellows. So there's still fuel, but look at this scale right here. It's lesser amounts of thunderstorm fuel, which is, of course, always good news because as we're seeing in real time, this line is entering a less favorable environment and it's continuing to weaken. Nonetheless, warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings, and one tornado warning we're tracking.
Yep, still some moderately unstable air in place. And, you know, with that, that's enough for damaging winds.
And I love seeing this. Behind it, you see the cold outflow that's coming with these storms. Temperatures just crashing like a rock. Evansville probably about to drop 10 to 20 degrees. St. Louis, a little bit cooler now. Springfield up towards Champaign. All of you guys experienced the storms earlier, and now you're getting a much more stable air mass, cooler, less humid air mass moving on in.
In the meantime, south of St. Louis, heading towards about Vernon, Illinois, and then up towards central Indiana, crossing Indianapolis right now, warned from basically Indianapolis up into southern Michigan.
And look at the dew points falling off a cliff as that line moves through. We're continuing to track watches stretching from Michigan down towards Illinois.
Yeah, tornado watch for southern Michigan. Main threat will be gusty winds, but again, can't rule an isolated tornado out. Further south, mostly damaging winds, little sliver of a tornado watch here still.
It's worth mentioning a watch means that conditions are favorable. Doesn't mean there's necessarily going to be one, but the possibility does exist for strong thunderstorms like in Cleveland, Akron, Mansfield, and then possibly a tornado in the Detroit metro area.
And this is a new one, a brand new severe thunderstorm watch till 5 in the morning for Cleveland, Akron, and Mansfield for that damaging wind threat.
And you can kind of see the path this is taking. We showed you the Northeast before. Eventually, by tomorrow afternoon, this same segment will reignite over the Northeast as it taps into more humid and hot air. At least behind it, we turn a little bit more pleasant as we head towards the weekend across the Northeast and Midwest.